On March 7, 2025, just after lunch, a charcoal gray Toyota Tacoma rolled into my bay slower than the driver wanted to admit. He was in his early 40s, a contractor by the look of his hands, and he had a folded piece of paper in his shirt pocket that he kept patting like it was burning him. He said his truck had started hunting between gears about 3 weeks earlier. Harsh downshifts, a thud when slowing for stoplights, a long pause before it would finally drop into the right gear on the highway. He had taken it to the dealer that morning. The paper in his pocket was a quote for $4,800. New valve body, transmission service, software flash, diagnostic time, labor, taxes. The truck had 78,000 miles on it. He looked at me and asked, "Is my transmission really dying?" I asked him to give me 90 seconds, not 90 minutes, not the rest of the afternoon. 90 seconds. He thought I was joking. I was not. Today, I am revealing the exact hidden button sequence inside the Toyota Tacoma that erases harsh shifts, hunting gears, and four-figure transmission quotes in less time than it takes to microwave a cup of coffee. And by the end of this video, you will understand why this problem almost never means your transmission is failing, and why so many drivers are paying thousands to fix something that was never broken in the first place. I have watched this exact scene play out more times than I can count. A Tacoma owner walks in convinced the transmission is on borrowed time. The symptoms feel catastrophic. The shifts are harsh enough to rock the cabin. The truck hesitates when you accelerate from a stop. It sometimes slams into second gear, like the truck is punishing you for asking it to slow down. Every forum post they have read says the same thing. Valve body, solenoid pack, transmission replacement, thousands of dollars. By the time they reach my shop, they are emotionally prepared to write the check. And then I do something that costs them absolutely nothing, and the truck drives away shifting smoother than the day they bought it. Here is the part the dealer does not always tell you. The third-generation Toyota Tacoma, built from 2016 through 2023, uses a 6-speed automatic transmission paired with one of the most aggressive adaptive shift programs Toyota has ever shipped. That adaptive program is not a defect, it is a feature. The transmission control module is constantly learning how you drive. It studies your throttle inputs. It studies how quickly you accelerate from stops. It studies your braking patterns. It studies elevation changes. And then it adjusts shift timing, shift firmness, torque converter lockup behavior, and downshift logic to match what it thinks you want. The problem is that this learning never stops. And once bad data gets stored, the truck does not question it. It trusts it, and it keeps trusting it, mile after mile, even when the original conditions are long gone. Think about what your Tacoma has been through in the last year. Maybe you towed a trailer once and the transmission learned heavier load behavior. Maybe you had a weak battery last winter that caused voltage drops during cold starts. And the transmission control module wrote corrupted adaptation values during one of those events. Maybe you drove aggressively for a weekend trip, and the truck locked in firmer shift patterns that never relaxed. Maybe a software update at your last service partially completed and left the adaptation table in a half-configured state. Any one of these events can permanently distort the shift logic until something forces the system to start over. That is the part the dealer quote never mentions. Because a reset does not look impressive on an invoice. A reset does not justify $4,000. A reset takes 90 seconds and leaves nothing to bill the customer for. So instead, the shop runs codes, finds nothing definitive, points to the valve body as a likely cause based on symptoms alone, and writes the estimate. Sometimes the parts genuinely do need replacement. Most of the time they do not. So, here is what I did to that contractor's Tacoma. I asked him to sit in the driver's seat. I had him put his foot on the brake. I told him to look down at the lower part of the center console near the shifter. On every third-generation Tacoma equipped with the 6-speed automatic, there is a small button labeled ECT-PWR. ECT stands for Electronically Controlled Transmission. PWR stands for Power. Most drivers either never press it or assume it is some kind of sport mode they should leave alone. They are partially right. When you press it during normal driving, the truck does shift more aggressively and hold gears longer. But that button is also the key to something Toyota engineers built into the system that almost nobody outside of dealership service bays talks about openly. It is part of a specific sequence that forces the transmission control module to abandon its current adaptive learning and start fresh. Here is the procedure exactly as I performed it. With the truck parked, the parking brake set, and my foot on the brake, I turned the ignition to the on position without starting the engine. I waited about 3 seconds for all the dash lights to illuminate fully. Then I pressed and held the ECT-PWR button. While holding it, I pressed the accelerator pedal to the floor and released it 5 times in quick succession. Then held the accelerator pedal all the way down for about 10 seconds. Then I released both the accelerator and the ECT-PWR button at the same time, turned the ignition off, and waited a full 60 seconds before doing anything else. That waiting period is not optional. It allows residual voltage to drain from the transmission control module, so the adaptation memory actually clears instead of being held in volatile cache. Then I started the truck, let it idle for 30 seconds, shifted slowly through every gear with my foot on the brake, returned it to park, and finally drove it out of the bay. The contractor was watching all of this from outside, arms crossed, expecting nothing. I took the Tacoma down the access road, made a stop, accelerated back to 30, made another stop, accelerated to 45, and brought it back into the lot. By the third stop, the shifts were already smoothing out. By the time I parked, the truck felt completely different. He drove it home that afternoon. He called me 3 days later after putting nearly 200 miles on it and said it was shifting like a new truck. No valve body, no software flash, no $4,800. Now I want to be very direct with you about something because I do not want anyone walking away from this video thinking I am promising miracles. This procedure does not fix everything. If your transmission has actual mechanical damage, worn clutch packs, a genuinely failed solenoid, contaminated fluid that has gone dark and burnt smelling, or a real internal fault that throws hard codes, this reset will not save it. What this reset does is something more valuable. It removes the assumption layer. It clears every adaptation the truck has built up over tens of thousands of miles, including the bad ones. If the symptoms come back within a day or two of normal driving, you now know the problem is real, mechanical, and worth investigating further. But if the symptoms disappear and stay gone, you just discovered that the truck was never broken. It was confused. There is a massive difference between those two states, and the only way to tell them apart is to perform the reset first. The reason this works so reliably on Tacomas specifically is because Toyota's adaptive logic on this transmission is more aggressive than most. The transmission control module is constantly rewriting shift firmness values based on what it interprets as driver intent. If you ever drove the truck hard, even once, those values shift toward firmer engagement. If you ever experienced low voltage during a cold start, those values can corrupt. If you ever did short trips for weeks at a time without the transmission fluid reaching full operating temperature, the adaptation drifts toward cold compensation patterns that feel awful once the fluid finally warms up. None of this is mechanical wear. None of this requires parts. All of it can be cleared in under 2 minutes if you know the sequence. There is one more thing I want you to understand, because it is the part that frustrates me most as a mechanic. After the reset, the truck needs to relearn correctly. That relearn phase matters as much as the reset itself. For the first 20 to 30 miles after performing this procedure, drive the truck normally. Not aggressively, not gently, just normally. Make complete stops at lights. Accelerate at the rate you would on any average day. Let it shift through all 6 gears at highway speed. Drive through one full warm-up cycle from cold start to full operating temperature. During those first miles, the transmission control module is rebuilding its adaptation table from scratch using accurate, current data. If you stomp the accelerator immediately after a reset, you teach the truck to expect aggressive driving forever. If you baby it unnaturally, you teach it slow, lazy shifts that will feel terrible the moment you actually need power. Just drive the way you actually drive. The truck will figure it out within a tank of fuel. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. If this is real, why doesn't the dealer just do it? The honest answer is that some dealers do, and some service writers genuinely do not know about it because the procedure lives in service bulletins that not every technician reads. But the larger answer is that the entire repair industry is built around parts and labor. A reset has no part to sell. A reset has no labor hours to bill in any meaningful way. A reset does not satisfy a warranty claim. And the dealer's diagnostic flowchart, when symptoms match the harsh shifting pattern, often jumps to replacement components because that is what the manufacturer trains them to recommend after the software side has supposedly been addressed. The problem is that the software side is exactly what gets skipped on customer pay work. Because reflashing the transmission control module with new calibration data is sometimes bundled into expensive service packages instead of being offered as a standalone fix. So you end up with a quote for a valve body you do not need, a flash you might already have, and labor hours that exist mostly to justify the price. Meanwhile, the actual fix takes 90 seconds in your own driveway. I want you to do me one favor before you ever authorize a transmission repair on a Tacoma again. Try the reset first. Just try it. It costs nothing. It risks nothing. If your transmission has a real mechanical problem, the symptoms will return quickly and you will know. If it does not, you just saved yourself thousands of dollars and probably weeks of stress. That contractor I mentioned at the beginning, the one with the $4,800 quote, he texted me a month later. He said his truck was still shifting clean. He said he had driven nearly 3,000 miles since the reset, and the harsh downshifts had not come back. He also said he had told 4 other Tacoma owners about it at his job site, and 2 of them had tried it on their own trucks with the same result. That is the part I want you to understand. This is not a one-off lucky fix. This is a documented behavior of a transmission control module that learns aggressively and almost never forgets unless you force it to. The hardest part of this whole situation is not the reset itself. It is unlearning the belief that complex problems require complex solutions. Your Tacoma is not a mystery. It is a computer with wheels. And computers respond to clean data the same way they always have. Give it clean data and it behaves correctly. Give it corrupted data and it behaves badly while convincing you the hardware is failing. The button is right there on your console. The procedure takes 90 seconds. And the difference between a $4,800 bill and a smooth shifting truck is whether or not you know what most owners were never taught. If this saved you from a transmission quote you were about to authorize, hit like so more Tacoma owners see it before they hand over their credit cards. Subscribe if you want more breakdowns like this one, where I expose the hidden resets, buttons, and procedures that dealerships rarely mention. And drop a comment if you have ever fixed a transmission problem with a reset, what your quote was, and how much you saved. Those stories help every driver who reads them, because the truth is simple. Most modern transmission problems are not transmission problems at all. They are memory problems, and now you know exactly how to clear them.